On a quiet night in San Bruno, a young girl learned that survival sometimes means hiding in silence while the world outside dreams in peace. While other children her age drifted to sleep with bedtime stories, Suzanne Somers curled into the darkness of a closet, praying her father's rage wouldn't find her that night. There are lives built on opportunities and others forged through survival. Suzanne's was the latter. Behind the future smiles, the fame, and the signature blonde hair was a child navigating chaos no child should know. And it's easy to admire who she became, but the real power lies in understanding what she had to endure and overcome to get there. Born on October 16, 1946, in the modest town of San Bruno, California, Suzanne grew up in a house ruled by fear. Her father, a violent alcoholic, turned their home into a battlefield. His unpredictable outbursts weren't just loud, they were terrifying. Suzanne, along with her siblings, lived each day waiting for the next explosion, each night hoping not to become the target. The fear wasn't occasional, it was constant. It was the kind that left deep marks, not just in memories, but in behaviors. Suzanne wet the bed until she was almost 13, a silent symptom of trauma she didn't yet have the words to describe. Her mother worked long hours as a medical secretary, but no job could build a wall strong enough to protect her children from the storm that raged behind their front door. School offered little refuge. Suzanne battled dyslexia, but rather than receive understanding, she was dismissed as lazy. Teachers didn't see a struggling child trying to make sense of words. They saw someone who wasn't trying hard enough. But even in those difficult days, she found a fragile escape in music and drama. On stage, she could pretend. She could step into someone else's shoes, even if only for a few minutes. It was in those moments that she found the tiniest glimmers of self-worth. But life had more hurdles in store. At just 14, she was expelled from Mercy High School, not for violence or misbehavior, but for writing harmless notes to a boy. Notes that were never even sent. A simple, teenage act turned into a punishment that seemed to echo the same message she kept hearing from the world around her. You are wrong. You don't belong. Then came the night that changed everything. She was 17, dressed in the prom gown her mother lovingly stitched together. Her father, drunk and fuming, ripped it apart in front of her. It was more than fabric being torn, it was dignity, identity, maybe even hope. But this time, Suzanne didn't hide. She fought back, grabbing a tennis racket and swinging until the rage inside her matched his. That violent moment didn't just end in bruises, it marked a shift. A message to herself, no more. In the aftermath of that explosion, Suzanne made decisions not out of readiness, but desperation. She became pregnant, dropped out of college, despite holding a music scholarship, and married Bruce Somers at just 18. It wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't even love. It was a lifeboat in stormy waters. Her son, Bruce Jr., born in November 1965, became her anchor. But the marriage couldn't survive the weight of their struggles. Poverty, instability, and emotional wounds tore it apart, leaving Suzanne, by 21, a single mother with a baby and a pile of broken dreams. Her 20s weren't just hard, they were chaotic. Legal trouble surfaced, including arrests and a secret abortion during a troubled affair. Lies became a form of currency, tools to keep surviving. But Suzanne was nothing if not resourceful. She moved to San Francisco and dipped her toes into modeling. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't secure. But it was a start. Unlike her siblings, who were beginning to drown in alcohol like their father, Suzanne clawed her way forward. Small roles came here and there, nothing headline-worthy, but each one was a building block. Then, in 1968, she met Alan Hamel, a married man and a game show host. Their affair wasn't just scandalous, it was complicated. When Suzanne became pregnant again, they made a painful, secret decision to terminate the pregnancy. It was the kind of choice people don't talk about openly, especially then. But behind the secrecy was guilt, and behind the guilt was a woman struggling to breathe beneath the weight of her past and present. Her emotional landscape was a minefield. But it was Bruce, her son, who became a pivotal turning point once again. In 1971, he was involved in a serious car accident, and the fear of losing him shook Suzanne into confronting what had been buried for too long. She began therapy, intensely, consistently, for 3 years. And it wasn't easy. Her therapist didn't sugarcoat the truth. He told her flat out, her self-esteem was the lowest he had ever seen. That brutal honesty became her foundation. For the first time, Suzanne started to unpack the abuse, the fear, the shame, and the survival tactics that had kept her functioning but not healing. Therapy didn't erase her pain, but it gave her tools, and slowly, it gave her herself back. Still, life wasn't done testing her. In 1970, she ended up in jail over a bounced rent check. She was trying to stay afloat, and sometimes the bottom looked closer than the surface. Her acting roles during that time were small, bit parts that didn't pay much, rarely credited, but every gig was a piece of the puzzle. Then came the role that changed everything. In 1976, she was cast as Chrissy Snow in Three's Company. And by 1977, Suzanne Somers wasn't just acting, she was a star. The world fell in love with Chrissy. Sweet, bubbly, a little naive but endlessly lovable, she became the face of a show that pushed boundaries about gender, sexuality, and cohabitation. Suzanne lit up the screen. She won a People's Choice Award and snagged a Golden Globe nomination. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. But behind the camera, cracks were forming. Tensions with co-star Joyce DeWitt were growing. Suzanne saw the job as business. Joyce saw it as art. The friction didn't stay quiet. Worse, Suzanne was being paid significantly less than her male counterpart, John Ritter. When she asked for equal pay and a share in the show's profits, the network didn't just say no, they punished her. Her screen time was slashed. She was isolated from the rest of the cast. Police escorts had to guide her through hostile set environments. Eventually, they pushed her out altogether. By 1980, Chrissy was gone, and Suzanne's name was unofficially blacklisted. Her lawsuit against ABC failed, and so did the illusion that Hollywood would reward her assertiveness. But again, she didn't quit. By 1982, she had turned her sights to Las Vegas. Headlining at the MGM Grand, she shared stages with legends like Sinatra and Wayne Newton. Crowds loved her. Critics took notice. In 1984, she was crowned Entertainer of the Year. It was a comeback no one expected, but Suzanne made a habit of that. She wasn't done proving herself. In 1988, she released Keeping Secrets, a deeply personal memoir that peeled back every layer. Childhood trauma, family dysfunction, public scandals. It resonated not because it was polished, but because it was raw. It became a bestseller and was later turned into a TV movie. People didn't just see Suzanne Somers anymore, they saw the survivor. The 1990s showed a different side of her, a savvy entrepreneur. While most of Hollywood laughed, she sold millions of thigh masters. That little exercise device became a cultural phenomenon and a massive financial success. She didn't wait for studios to give her a second chance. She created her own lane. Cookbooks, skincare, jewelry lines. Her name became a brand. And then came another TV success. Step by Step, airing from 1991 to 1998, brought Suzanne back into America's living rooms. This time, not as Chrissy, but as a loving stepmother navigating a blended family. It was one of her longest-running and most loved roles. But Suzanne never stopped advocating. Her own battles with addiction in the family inspired her to create the Suzanne Somers Institute, helping children from alcoholic homes. She became a voice for the wounded, not from theory but from lived experience. She testified before Congress, wrote powerful books like Wednesday's Children, and never stopped pushing for healing, both her own and others. In 2000, when diagnosed with breast cancer, Suzanne again defied convention. She refused chemotherapy, opting instead for surgery and radiation paired with alternative therapies. The medical world didn't approve. Critics called her reckless. But Suzanne believed in what she chose, and she had always been her own compass. She continued to advocate for alternative health solutions, writing books like Ageless and Knockout, sparking intense debate about bioidentical hormones and unconventional cancer treatments. When misdiagnosed with terminal cancer in 2008, only to find out it was false, her distrust of mainstream medicine grew. And still, she spoke her truth. Sometimes, that truth stirred controversy. After the 2013 Sandy Hook tragedy, she suggested that environmental toxins could affect behavior, a claim that brought harsh backlash. But Suzanne stood firm, even when the world pushed back. In 2023, when she revealed her cancer had returned, she faced it with the same courage she had shown all her life. She leaned on Alan Hamel, now her longtime husband, and vowed to fight with a mix of traditional and alternative methods. On October 15, 2023, Suzanne passed away, just one day before her 77th birthday. Her final moments were surrounded by family, love, and quiet strength. In the aftermath, Alan revealed an AI-powered digital replica of Suzanne, a move that sparked emotional and ethical debate. Even in death, she pushed boundaries and challenged perceptions. And by mid-2025, Alan shared that he had found new companionship with actress Joanna Cassidy, with Suzanne's blessing, given before her passing. Suzanne Somers' story wasn't simple. It was complicated, messy, brave, and beautiful. She turned pain into purpose, rejection into reinvention, and silence into voice. She never asked for pity, only to be heard, seen, and understood. And in telling her story, we see a reflection of what it means to refuse to be defined by your worst moments. To those who grew up afraid, who were told they were less, who carry invisible wounds, Suzanne Somers stands as proof that healing is possible, and your past does not get the final word. If you found this story moving, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel for more powerful true stories that celebrate strength, honesty, and the human spirit.